name is Fiona Brown and I run a company called Profile Training and Development. I'm going to be speaking to you this morning about human resource management and the law. What we're talking about today is key areas of HR. The 7 I've chosen are the areas where I am consulted on regularly, so they seem to be the areas where there are gaps in people's knowledge and gaps in the structures that they've put in place. Recruitment, selection and retention. If you get the right people in the job from the word go, your chances of stuff going wrong later on is reduced. If you ensure that you issue as part of the fundamental documents, role profiles, job descriptions, clear outlines of your expectations of what they would do in the workplace, again, you're going to find that document your friend. The next pillar that we're going to look at is the terms of information in employee handbooks. There is no such thing in employment legislation as a contract of employment. A contract is a document between two parties. A contract of employment is an employment document between two parties. But what you are required to do by law is to issue a written statement of the terms of employment. And that is a piece of legislation that was issued in 1994, and even though you don't know you know it, you know it. You must have the name and address of the employer, what the break times are, what the holiday entitlements are, what their rate of pay. And it is a contract of employment, there's no question, but it's just that the terms of employment must be in there. The next pillar we're talking about is corrective action. That used to be called discipline and grievance procedures, identifying a disciplinary issue in the workplace and then putting procedures in place to correct that. Probably the busiest part of the work I do with my clients. I spent most time helping them manage their way through disciplinary issues. I have a problem with an employee, and the first question I get asked, how do I get rid of them? Which is, of course, the last question I need to be asked. The next HR practice is, I'm calling it redundancy and varying terms of employment because that's just simple terms. At the moment, we have situations where we need to change the working patterns of employees, we need to reduce their hours, we need to lay them off. We've all of this going on. Can we do it? Yes, of course we can. However, if in the terms of your employment from tomorrow on, if you're issuing contracts to people, if in the terms of employment you say you are being paid €10 an hour, in the unlikely event that we have to decrease your hours of work or cut your pay, we will do so only in the most grievous set of circumstances, and we will give you at least 4 weeks' notice. You're reserving the right to be able to cut pay or cut hours. And they've signed that in the terms of their employment, so they're allowing you do that, and you need to point that out to them. From a HR perspective, you should be keeping records. It's good business practice. If you have a conversation with somebody and the outcome is a sanction of some kind, you should keep a record. Otherwise, how do we know it happened? So you must keep your records. Every piece of legislation requires that records are kept for a period of time. And it'll, like Organisation of Working Time Act is 3 years, but in fact you should be keeping them longer because you may have to prove you paid holiday pay or whatever. Next area that is important is equality in the workplace. If an employee, for example, has a disability and they believe they're being treated differently, that they would have a route to resolution, that they would be able to say, okay, this is what's happening, and that you have a policy set out that indicates if you feel this, this is what you must do. Our final pillar for today is performance management. There's no governing legislation specifically covering the requirement that you manage performance in the workplace. However, if somebody is not performing and you haven't been supportive, given them feedback, evaluated them, asked for their feedback on how everything is going, and ultimately you're going down the line of letting somebody go, then you have no evidence as to why you're letting this person go. But it's real life at the moment where we are letting people go. We are reducing, we're putting people on layoff in short time. We have to choose those who suffer in this way fairly and reasonably.